Yeah, I don't know if we're going to make any, conclusions off of, the first couple of games, but, you go off of what you see on film. And I think guys, first off, are playing hard. They're running to the football, but they're getting to the next level better. I think you've seen that on film. Guys are getting up to the second level better on a few of the stuff, that we had organized for this past game. And you're seeing pad level lower, and, guys are rocking off the ball, and I think the running backs are running hard. But I don't think we're in any place right now to make any, judgments on where we are. But that was what we did on Saturday.
Far left, Joe Nugent, WCMH.
Were you satisfied with the rotation at right guard, and is that something you could see doing moving forward?
Yeah, I think both of those guys deserve to play. I mentioned that last week, and they both did. We'll continue to evaluate it and grade and make sure, but we all know we're going to need these guys, and that's the thing. Whether it's Trevion and Quinshon or Austin and Tegra, I mean, these guys are team players, and they want to win. That's the number one thing here. It isn't about statistics or anything like that, and there'll be plenty of snaps to go around. We know that. So this week we got a new challenge ahead of us, conference game on the road. So those guys will help each other, and we'll see how this week of practice goes, and as we get closer to the game, put a plan together.
Far right, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, when you look back at film or even talk to Jaden, what did you see that went wrong on his kickoffs, and how do you evaluate that going forward?
Yeah, I just talked to him about his mindset, and he gave me some information just about a little tweak that he had, and he's either has to make the correction or has to communicate to us that there was an issue. So talked to him for a while though about that and how much we needed moving forward.
Would you say tweak, injury, or just something he changed in his what he was doing?
Yeah, he felt a little something somewhere early on, and wasn't able to quite make the adjustment from there. So nothing long term or anything like that.
Far right, Adam King, WBNS.
Coach, getting ready to go on the road for the first time, how much does changing, going downtown before the home games help get you prepared, or does it at all to go on the road? How do you change your weekly thing as you get ready for conference play on the road again?
We try to keep it as close to our normal routine as possible. I would say that we do have a little bit more of that feel when we're downtown, that we're on our own and a little bit more isolated, which is good. I think it avoids some distractions as much as we liked being here on campus. But this is new. I mean, you're going on the road in a conference environment. I'm sure they'll have a great crowd, night game. They're playing good football. So, we've got to, face our first challenge on the road, and that comes with, a lot of different things. And like you said, new traveling and, handling the crowd noise and all of the above. So good challenge for us. We're looking forward to it.
Right next door, Dave Holmes, WSYX.
Yeah, so Michigan State's had 3 close games. You guys obviously haven't had one. I know the goal is not to play a close game. You'd rather win by 40 or 50. But how much does the experience of a close game matter, and how do you simulate that with your guys when you haven't experienced it in real time?
I think when you have a young team, I think it's significant. I think our guys have played a lot of football and been around a lot of games, different styles of games. So, we should be able to adjust pretty quickly.
Front row left, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Back to right guard for a moment. When you guys are making a decision like that to rotate, how do you balance, we want to have cohesion up front with the same 5 guys, get Tegra as many reps as possible, getting Donnie back, with also wanting to build that depth with getting Austin in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think but also I think, giving both of them a chance to catch their breath for a series or two is actually a good thing for a young player. So we look at that during the week. We'll rotate those guys during the week so that there's chemistry between Josh Fryer, Seth, and both of those guys when they're in there. And I think when you practice that way and then you play that way, there isn't all of a sudden like this chemistry issue or anything like that. As long as whoever's not in the game is really focused in, seeing the plays on a tablet, seeing the adjustments in real time, I think that's good. And I do think that is a benefit to having the tablets is, although they're not in there getting the rep, they can actually see what happened in the last series and make any kind of adjustments that are going on in game.
Just a quick follow-up. Is Tegra definitely the starter there, or is it a pretty good battle there between him and Austin? Or
yeah, we're going to keep moving forward just like we just did and let these guys both play. And as of right now, Tegra's going to start, but they're both going to play, and I think they're excited about that. And I do think it's good for them, especially early on, to have a series to catch their breath and then get back in there.
Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Devin Brown got a chance to get in there and throw the ball around a little bit. What was your assessment of Devin and how he played?
A couple, the third down conversion was good. He did miss a couple throws, so probably not as much in the game to really make a huge evaluation on. But every play is an evaluation. We're trying to build that depth, and so the development has to keep coming in practice, and when we get in there in a game, we want to move the ball down the field and score touchdowns.
Conference play, these chances to get these guys in the game might be a little bit more difficult to come by. Is Devin still your unquestioned number 2 quarterback right now? Is that a competition at all still?
Guys are competing every day in practice. He would be our number 2 right now, but yeah, that's across the board. Everyone's got an opportunity to compete, and there's 5 guys in that room that want to get out there, and so to say they're not competing every day wouldn't be right for them. They got to come and bring it, and so we'll have opportunities today this week in practice to evaluate him and kind of see where we go. But right now he is our 2.
Right behind him, Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
Yeah, Ryan, what makes Carnell so valuable when the ball isn't in his hands? Like whether it's perimeter blocking, pre-snap motion, feels like you guys lean on him for a lot. Just what makes him so valuable in those situations?
His accountability is tremendous. His blocking, his attention to detail, like you said, his route running, the precision of his routes, and he's had a great guy in Emeka to look up to. We saw Marvin work last year, but he's carving out his own legacy here. He's a guy that we look to who has become a major part of our offense and someone that does a lot of things for us. He's on punt return. He's running a lot of the stuff there. He's extremely talented, running routes and catching balls, and so you can see all that. But he's becoming a complete football player and also a leader.
Coach, how much more do things ramp up now that the non-conference is over and you're going into Big Ten play and scout Sparty for you?
Yeah, it's always about us. So, we always say that the opponent doesn't matter. But all that being said, going on the road and a conference opponent is a big deal. So, everything's got to ramp up. And now we're into game 4, and we got to keep upgrading each week. So, we got to have a great week of practice, and everything needs to ramp up. I think, first off, Jonathan's done a really good job already of establishing an identity there. I feel like, they have a really good quarterback, good young quarterback who can do a lot of different things. He can beat you with his feet. He's made some really nice throws, in some big games for them, and won a game on the road already at Maryland. And so for a young quarterback, that's we should give him a lot of confidence. On defense, they're playing really, really hard. You can tell they're well coached. So I think he's upgraded in a lot of areas, and he's doing a good job. So, we got to, this is a Big Ten road game for us, and we got to bring it.
Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Right, you guys have been really explosive passing, just like a lot of short stuff, screens and slants and all that kind of stuff. As the offense continues to evolve, would you like to see more vertical shots in the offense, or are you pretty comfortable with where you are now and how kind of precise you've been on the short stuff?
No, it's a good question. I think we want to always, be able to run it right at you, run it outside, run it or throw the ball, horizontally and throw it vertically. And when you can do all those things, you're putting the defense in the highest amount of stress as possible. And a big part of that, though, is what the defense is giving. They, if they want to play, real deep and keep it in front, then we got to do a good job being efficient with those. If they start to challenge a little bit more, then we got to get behind them and run by them. So if you can do all of those things along with, in the run game, have the quarterback involved with it, again, we feel like that's putting a lot of stress on the defense. And but the key is, when they take away something, can you get to the next thing? And that's what's important. But we've worked hard to try to make sure we have diversity within the offense.
Will had said, I think in camp, that he was trying to work on being a more consistent downfield thrower. He hasn't had a large, volume of downfield targets just yet. But what have you made of that so far?
Yeah, no, he's really made some great balls and great throws in practice, and he's really made a lot of progress. He has. So long way to go. Still early in the season, but he can make them all, and he's done it in practice. And so I think the timing is continuing to improve. You can just see, the ball's coming out of his hands, and the receivers are maybe even not even out of their break quite yet. That's good sign. Those are all good signs, and and our guys do such a great job downfield of going up and getting it too. So there's a lot of opportunity and, a lot of games ahead of us.
Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
How much feedback do you get from Will during the week? I know you'll ask, what do you feel comfortable about? But in terms of who he wants to get involved, or what he's seeing from his teammates that maybe he's giving feedback on them, like can we get Carnell involved, stuff like that.
I mean, we always want to make sure that we're getting everybody involved. Now, a big part of that is whatever it takes to go score a touchdown. I mean, that's the number one thing here. But we want to put stress on the defense. How do you do that? You spread the ball around. So that's something we just do naturally. But there's a lot of conversation on a daily basis during the day, conversation on the field, conversation after the field, text messages at night, those types of things. But most of the conversation is between he and Chip and, in those meetings. But I'm right there as well. And it's great because Chip brings such a different perspective to the table for us. But at the same time, there's certain things that, we've seen over the years that we know show up in some, some of these opponents that we're playing and what's coming down the road in the Big Ten. And Will has his own experience of playing in the Big 12 in those games. So a lot of good conversation there, and I think it's all healthy.
Has that picked up since the season started, or was that something that's been going on, since the spring, or when did things really pick up in terms of the conversation?
I don't know if there's any. I mean, it's always been good. I think as he's starting to learn the offense, he gets more and more comfortable. He's able to give more feedback on what he's seeing. And I think it's good to get in here and watch film on your own before the coaches even get to you. What are you seeing? And if he comes in with some different ideas that are in line with us, then we know we're getting the mindset correctly. We're teaching it the right way, and he's understanding it. So it's good to get some of his thoughts, on a Monday when he's watched the film fresh.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Right, we haven't talked a ton about tight ends, but you guys are obviously using a number of them. How, to the average person, it may not come across, but how impactful are they in terms of what you guys are doing offensively?
Well, I think the tight end position here is critically important because it can put a lot of stress on a defense in different ways. The running and the blocking and the pass catching and all those different things can really create a mismatch for us. And when we're able to get in and out of personnel groupings, we feel like that also gives us a little something. So we're always talking about, how do you put stress on the defense? And this is another way for us to, to try to do that by changing up these personnel groupings. And having tight ends that can do multiple things allows us to do that.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Spring was interesting for you, having to make some hires at times that you necessarily don't have to make hires. How well did you know Carlos Locksley, if at all, before that situation arose where you had to go find a running back coach?
The first time I met him was on a Zoom call during an interview, and we had interviewed, Chip and I, several candidates. I think he might have been 8 or 9 or 10 or somewhere along there. And he almost interviewed us. He had a presentation ready. He gave his drills. I mean, I think we said hello and he ran it from the rest of the way. And it was like, this is our guy. I mean, he was tremendous. And then shared with us his story. Now, we had done a little background, but to hear the whole story of how he got into the game and his passion and, he knew everything about Chip. He knew everything about me. He had knew everything about Ohio State going into the interview. And it was just really, really impressive. And when it came to the run game, identifying, what the blocking schemes were like, how the running back runs, in these type of run schemes and what he's looking for, and then how does he drill it and the mindset and mentality. But of all the things that I liked the most, it was his mindset and his mentality,
See, there's a lot of guys on offensive staff where you did have prior relationships with them before, obviously in different roles in your life, right? With him, it just seems like outside guy, you needed to go find a running backs coach. And as you're talking about, that guy just wowed you away. Having that guy who maybe doesn't necessarily think the way a lot of you guys do, how has he added to the room overall when you guys are sitting in those offensive meetings right now?
I think some people ask, what are some of the things that you've learned? Every year you learn more as a head coach. And, I didn't know Jim Knowles when I hired him. I had never met him before. And the same thing with Carlos. And I think what you want to do is you want to go hire the best fit, but you got to hire the best person for the role in that time. And so you got to be thorough. And sometimes it takes more time to make sure you're bringing the right person for that spot. And we felt like Carlos was that guy. But I think anytime you come in with a buy-in, but also a different perspective, it's healthy for the room. Ask questions, challenge. Have you ever thought about doing it this way? This is the way we've done it. Show you some clips of film. just to kind of splash the water, I think is great. And I think early on, you got to kind of learn the way that it's, our system works, which she's done a great job of. But even now, just gives little ideas here and there out of practice of things that, he's done at some of his prior stops. And that's all really, really healthy stuff. It just gives you perspective too.
Spencer Holbrook, let him in row.
Ryan, we talked so much about the interior of the offensive line, but what have you seen so far from Josh Simmons? I'm sure it's good when you don't hear much from the left tackle, but he's been penalty free through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think Josh has played much more physical. He's finishing to the ball more. He's finishing to strain more. He's put more time in studying. He's a year into the system. So, we're counting on him to, be, the left tackle that we need to go reach our goals. Still early, but you're seeing progress there.
Stefan Kreisnik, Cleveland.com.
You ready, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. With Travion and kind of the combo that he's had with Quinn-Sean, where have you seen him kind of grow, and how do you think he's kind of embraced the role of splitting the reps more?
I think they've both been excellent. Yeah, and I think that's people ask all the time, but they pull for each other, and you can see in this game they both had great games. They both were the player of the game on offense for us, and when Quinn-Sean's got a great run in front of the team, Trey's cheering him on, and vice versa. So they know what a long season it is, and I think they both make each other better.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, do you expect Tyleik Williams to be able to practice and play this week? And what was your assessment just overall of how the other defensive tackles played against Marshall?
Yeah, I think that Tyleik's day-to-day. He'll be out there today. We'll see how it goes. I think when you watch the film, there was good play, but there needs to be more consistent play. And so, there's a lot to learn from there and a lot to grow from. And this is an opportunity to build depth in that room. When Tyleik, is out there, he certainly makes his impact felt. And just like when we lost Donovan there for those couple of weeks, it was an opportunity. And so you learn about that when you have to step into that role. It's different than when you're, playing 10 to 15 snaps in a backup capacity to when you're the guy. So good challenge for those guys. And I think, everybody in that room would tell you that there was some good plays, but there needs to be more consistent play.
Steve Hellwagen, 24/7 Sports.
Just put my hand up and get right in. Want to ask about the defense, just some problems getting off the field on 3rd and 4th down this past week. Was there a consistent theme to anything that you guys saw, or some things that maybe future opponents could hone in on to convert some of those in future games?
Yeah, every time you get done with the game, you evaluate it and try to sort through, what went well and what needs to improve. And, there's, I'm not going to get into all the different things right now, but, there was definitely some plays on 3rd down that we'd like to have back, that we'd like to execute better.
Is pass rush where you want it right now, just 1 sack? This past week, and it wasn't even out of the regular 4-man, it was out of the Rushman kind of special package.
I think what's important for everybody to understand, and that includes, JT and Jack and our guys, is, if an offense decides that they're not going to give up any sacks, they can run the ball every play, throw RPO, or get a ball out of their hand quickly. And so it isn't a game of stats. What you got to do is you got to stop the run. And if the quarterback, is in a situation where he's looking to run quarterback draw or quarterback power or those type of things, we got to stop the run first. The sacks will come. So, just to go out there and think you're just going to go sack the quarterback, if one of the things that the other, side of the ball decides is we're not just going to take a 5-step drop and hang on to the ball, then those opportunities aren't going to be there. You have to defend what the other team is trying to do. And so, that's just the bottom line. And, when you have talented pass rushers like that, you're going to get some different styles of play. And so we all just have to make sure that, we understand the goal is first is to stop the run. And then secondly, it's obviously, about disrupting the passing game. But there's different ways to disrupt the passing game. And to think that, we're just going to, guys are just going to drop back pass in a game like that, is going to happen. The ball came out quick. Quarterback did not hang on to it. So, there's a lot of things that come with that, and we could talk about this for hours, but I want to make sure that the number one goal is the number one goal, and that's to stop the run and to get off the field on third down, whatever that takes. And it may not be a sack.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, did you hear anybody from the Woody days about going into the tee on that sneak with Will Howard?
The tee, well, yeah, Chip brought it out in the spring game, and that was kind of robust there to show a little respect to Coach Hayes and the way they used to run the ball here. So we wanted to do that then. Now that formation gives us a little something. It gives us some balance, and so we'll continue to build on it as the season goes on.
Chip ran in a lot at UCLA. Was that sort of something or not a lot, but he ran it somewhat at UCLA. Was that something he kind of suggested he was something you could do?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was something he's got a little bit of background in. So we spent some time talking about it this off season and looked at some different things out of it. And so when appropriate, we'll utilize it.
Far left, Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Hi, Ryan. Kind of a left field question. I was going to ask you, have you heard about the story about Michigan State's Armorian Smith and that he's raising his 5 siblings? I mean, it's just a truly incredible story, and I was wondering what your thoughts were on, what these kids on a regular go through.
Right.
And the extra time that he's putting into all of this.
Yeah, I was told secondhand a little bit. I don't know all the details, so it'd be hard for me to comment on it. But I certainly, what I've heard, have a lot of respect, for that situation and understand the challenges that I can't imagine what that challenge is like. But and everything that it sounds like he and his family have gone through. So it's one of the things that kind of gets lost a little bit. Is that these are young men, and not everybody's has the same family situation or dynamic, and that's why we always have to make sure we focus on our one of our goals here is to raise great young men and to be supportive and those type of things. And so again, I don't know all the details, but certainly have a lot of respect and have definitely thought about what that means for he and his family.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Ryan, just last week you were in here talking about with the tackles that Caden and Will, Jason might have some opportunities, and I don't know if it was a challenge to them for Saturday or if you thought those guys were ready to take on more reps. Did what happened Saturday trouble you at all with the depth? Is that just a product of being out there for the first time? Was the depth? Is it not where you guys really want to tackle? I'm throwing a lot out there.
No, I know. You're trying to figure out what was the evaluation coming out of it. Yeah, I get it. I think, again, it was a mixed bag. Do we want to see more consistent play? Yeah, we do. Whether like the 4th down stop by Tywan Malone was a really good play. He took an adjustment that happened in game, and that happened on the sideline, and he made it on the field and made that play. I thought he had a really good play in a screen. He put his foot in the ground, redirected, and made a play. But then there's also some clips of film that we got to be better. So, but I think that's I think about when Austin got put into that role in the first couple of weeks here in preseason camp. It wasn't very good because you have to almost recalibrate yourself to this is what I got to bring every single play. I can't it's not just 10 or 15 plays, and I got to bring it every single play. So, we'll see where that goes this week. We'll see where Tyleek's at, but. When those guys do get in there, we're counting on an adjustment to be made and some progress to be made there.
Was the nature of that game with some of what they were running with the quarterback, the heat, the temperature on the field, the rubber melting or whatever? Did it make it difficult at all? I know that you guys aren't going to ever lower the standard or expectation once you're out there and wearing that uniform, but did it make it more complicated to evaluate when all those factors are in there?
No, because they're the same for both sides, and, we're not going to make any excuses about that. I mean, either do your job or you don't. And there's a lot of things that can come into play. Like you said, there was some unique schemes in there, but still, ultimately, you did your job or you didn't. You either graded out a champion or you didn't, and I think ultimately we have to make sure that we keep it just, black and white, and that's what it is. And either you did your job or you didn't. You played good enough to win or you didn't. And so there's a lot that comes with that. And it's like instant feedback on how your preparation went. How did you practice? How was your meetings? How were your walkthroughs? Did you spend enough time watching film? All those things. How about did you get enough rest? Did you hydrate well enough, the night before? So, you got to evaluate all those things, figure out what you did well, enhance them. The things you didn't do, you got to get them fixed. And that's a part of the progress. But you're getting good feedback when you're getting way more reps against, the ones than you would typically, if you're playing as a backup. So, we'll see. We'll see where this thing goes. But they've certainly been challenged, and I know everybody in that room is going to work hard to get it to where we need it to be.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
When you got the 4 big transfers, Will, Steph, Caleb, and Quinshawn, you knew they were talented. But it's one thing to integrate them, and have they done and been everything that you hoped they would be? And how much of an addition has that been? Obviously, it's a big one, but can you quantify it?
I think, first off, it's the culture fit, and I think all of those guys have been excellent culture fits. I think when you watch all of them play, they play with emotion. They like to be around this team. There's a play where Seth's running downfield on him. I don't know if it was a screen or one of the toss cracks, and he's downfield and he's barking at the sideline and he's just having fun. And Quinshawn, same thing, is that long run and you just see him jump up. And Caleb's out there, he's got great energy. And Will, I mean, these guys, they just like being around this team. And to me, that's like the number one thing, because when you bring guys in, especially here who have put the multiple years in the program, it's a little bit of a different deal for your culture, and you got to make sure that you're sustaining a culture during these kind of unprecedented times. I think that's very important. On the field, again, you're seeing what you see. We see what we see in practice, but the challenges are bigger, and we'll kind of evaluate that, as we start getting more of these bigger games under our belt.
And Chip coached against Jonathan Smith. You probably don't have any familiarity coaching against him, right?
Just that first game, I think, when he was at Oregon State, that was the first one, but he had just started there, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How much does it help to have Chip and to be able to bounce things off him, because he obviously knows him better?
Yeah. Again, I think he's an excellent coach, and yeah, Chip knows him as a coach. Doesn't necessarily mean everything they did at Oregon State is what they're doing now. I think they've kind of made some adjustments based on their personnel. But yeah, I mean they have some familiarity there.
And final questions, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Thanks, Jerry. Just 2 quickies. Number one, do you feel good where this running game is that you have going into the Big Ten meeting? Have you seen the consistency, et cetera? And I know everything's relative based on who you're playing, who you're blocking and stuff, but what's the indication that this running game is coming along like you envisioned?
Yeah, I don't feel good about anything. That's just my mindset. Yeah, I mean, I don't. And that has to be everybody's mindset. You start to feel good about something, and complacency can sneak up on you fast. So nobody feels good about anything. I think we're building confidence in it, though. I think the guys, guys are starting to, okay, we can get after some people now, and they're starting to have a little bit of fun and say, like, I'm going to line up against you and get after you. And I think, to me, in the way the running backs are running, and that you can feel that's palatable when you're out there, and so we got to keep building on that. Again, bigger challenges are ahead and all that, but that part has been encouraging, I would say.
Yeah, and finishing downfield.
So I'm saying, like, to me, like that's more than anything. We want the execution. You got to do your job. You got to grade out a champion, but it's how hard are you playing down the field and finishing blocks and finishing your runs, and we saw that here, but again, just a start.
And is it amazing to you how, because y'all have done this, you look at Michigan State, they didn't just bring in a new coach, they brought in other players. You know what I mean? They've reshaped their roster and stuff. People are used to like a sequential thing, I think, from college football. That's not the way it is anymore and stuff. But has Michigan State done a good job in that regard? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, it's year to year more than ever. And they've done a nice job. I mean, they're playing hard, and they put some good pieces into it, and they're a good team. To win that game on the road against Maryland really, they caught everybody's attention.
Glad to be back playing football. Excited, obviously. First Big Ten matchup for us. Get the opportunity to travel to a Rose Bowl, always an iconic place to play, and certainly a team that we're excited to go out there and play against, so we can open it up.
Right here on the left, Garrett.
Yeah, just starting with the bye week, why was it a success for your guys' operation?
Yeah, ultimately we got better, right? You're looking for opportunities to get better, challenge your team, find areas for improvement. And I thought our guys did a good job of that.
Right on the right there.
As a Chiefs fan, you're obviously familiar with Eric Bieniemy and his offense. Do you have a relationship with him at all? And what do you think from him, and what he's done at UCLA so far this year?
Yeah, obviously a great offensive mind. I don't have a relationship other than I know who he is and then the job that he's done for a really long time. Obviously a really successful coordinator for a reason. Was a successful player too. So it's been fun to watch what he's done in his career.
Front left, James.
What have you seen from Ethan Garber so far in their limited sample, at least this season, in running that offense?
Yeah, I think he's very athletic. He's made, he's a guy that when he does scramble, he scrambles and looks to throw. I think that's something he's had some success in each of his games. I think he's getting more and more comfortable, but he throws a good ball. He's able to really attack his soft zone, really well, and is getting more and more comfortable in their system.
Right on, right.
Surprise is the wrong word, but through three games, what's been something you've seen in this team that's been a pleasant surprise or excited you?
Just their willingness to work, right? Our guys come out here, work every single week. Sometimes like by week can be a lull for teams. I thought our guys have attacked it with the proper approach of finding ways to continue to improve and get better. We talk about having a player-led team. I think that's really shown up for our guys over the last several weeks, and it certainly has shown up throughout the season so far.
On the left, Eric.
You talked a lot about wanting to play clean, especially offensively. What leads you to have confidence that this will be 2 in a row where you guys will accomplish that?
Well, it's really about the body of work we do this week in practice. So it's got to show up in practice for it to show up in the games. But I think what's been proven is when we do play clean, we play well. So that's something we have to challenge ourselves to do, especially when you go on the road. There can be a loss of focus. That's something we have to maintain throughout the game.
On the left, James.
There's some familiarity with both sides in terms of players. What value is there to either Dante's familiarity with them, at least in terms of personnel, if not some of their defensive scheme perhaps? And it's unusual to have an opponent with 5 former players, but BA obviously was here and knows a little bit defensive signals. What have you done to adapt and adjust to that familiarity?
It's been a while since either one of those guys were with, and there's new coaching staffs and some changes on both sides. So certainly there's some advantages. On the same note, I think there's a lot that's different. You look at both these teams. Both of us I would call game plan teams. We play different based on the opponent that we're playing each week. So you'll see some different wrinkles probably from their side as well as our side. So I don't know how much that'll carry over.
All right, Zach.
Stressed special teams a lot since getting here in 2021. Is there something different about this team that you think has led to so much success in that area this year?
No, I mean, I think they take a lot of pride in it. I think the execution has been a lot better. And, there were times in previous years where we're really close to having a big play and maybe we don't create it because we're one block away or one play away. I'll say this, whatever guys step on the field, all 11 of those guys have a clear focus on accomplishing their job for their team.
Back left, Brett.
UCLA has had some struggles in the first couple of weeks, both offensively and defensively. What have you seen on film to where you can take advantage of them in this weekend's matchup?
I don't know if I'll speak to that more than just speaking to a team that I think has been resilient. It's going into halftime, a tie game with LSU. They've been able to play in some tight battles and showing an ability to play with any team that they line up against. So certainly they've had areas where they can grow, and so have we. So I see it as a great challenge. A team that has some talent on their roster, some guys that play really well that we have to be aware of and ready to adapt to.
Eric on left.
New leadership on their defense too. I'm curious on what they look like on film and kind of some things to talk about there, I guess.
Yeah, they do a good job of changing it up. The front moves a lot. A lot of a stem operation where they do a lot of different things with their defensive line. They line up in multiple fronts, so it can be 3 down, 4 down. Do a good job disguising zone and making it look like man. So they'll pitch a lot of different things at you, and it's at times can be hard to calm them down and figure out exactly what they're in. So we'll have to be really aware of what they are in, and then on the same note, have good answers for whatever that might be.
Front left, James.
What's made Kay Medrano more disruptive for them so far this season?
When he pulls the trigger, he ends up, in the backfield quickly. He's got good stop and go. He's a knockback tackler, so he's able to get guys on the ground. But he shows up in special teams. It's kind of like the kind of guy when he plays with his hair on fire, when he's on the field.
Back middle, Matt.
You often talk about controlling the things that you can control. 8 p.m. kickoff is out of your hands, but what do you do to go through that long lull of a wait for a game that's pretty unusual?
What an opportunity. That means more time for us to prepare, more time for us to get ready. We're excited about the challenge and what that provides.
Middle left, Eric.
You talked about the value of Matt having this time and obviously the next week. How is he? I guess you're kind of in the middle of that. How is he in that process right now?
Yeah, he actually got dinged the other day in practice. So, just trying to be aware of where he's at. If he's, able to, help us this week, we will. But always we'll put our players first and see, where they're at in that process.
Front left, James.
I wanted to get an update also on Jaleel Florence and just his process coming back, and at what point, if at all, does the possibility of a red shirt, given that it could be 4 games plus the postseason, when does that conversation begin?
Yeah, whenever it needs to happen. At this point, it doesn't need to happen. You get 4 games to play. Once Jaleel's ready, we'll be able to utilize him. But right now, he's not at that point yet.
Back to James.
A lot of attention nationally this past week, and then where even Dylan got involved in terms of the conversation of how teams and programs and coaches go about team building, program building around the quarterback position, the value of quarterback experience versus youth in the development process. Can you explain a little bit of your philosophy so far of, yes, you brought in transfers that one with 2 years, one with 1 with 3, but also developing young guys and being able to make that work insofar as how you've done it so far and navigated that process so far?
Yeah, I just think that's part of the culture of our team. We talk about connections, a big piece of our team. Obviously, when we be guys, a team that develops guys within our roster. I think you'll see a lot of guys playing for us on Saturday that have grown up in this program. But we always want to be competitive and make sure we have the best advantage when we step out there on the field on Saturday. So continue to find guys that can make our program better. And luckily, there's a lot of different roads to get here, but there's a lot of people who can make our team better, throughout that process.
That's all we have for you, Coach. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do something a little differently. I'm not going to do the police report and kind of go through last week and this week, but hit a couple points. One, obviously, really happy with the win. As I told our team after the game, winning is hard, and anytime you win, you need to be excited, happy, especially about what went right. Obviously, in every game, there'll be some learning opportunities, and for us, there were a lot of things that went right. We got off to a fast start, scoring on 4 straight drives on offense. Defensively, really played about as perfect a first half, forcing 3 and outs, and really doing a great job. And then the game shifted at what I call we call it that middle 8, and that's where the learning piece for us that we'll make some corrections. And defensively, the best thing that came out of that game is we played a lot of players. The disappointing thing was on offense we didn't get to play as many players as I envisioned us because of how the third quarter went. That middle 8, that middle 8 is the last drive of the first half and the first drive of the second half, and the long drive they had followed that with the 1-play drive with the tipped interception, with the still a series of plays, with the surprise onside. Didn't allow us to develop our offensive players because we got 9 plays in the third quarter, and we're one of those teams that we benefit mightily over having a bunch of opportunities, and we lost that opportunity, and it's something for me we got to continue to work on. We didn't generate the turnovers on defense that we had typically, and it goes back to I said something about last week. Somebody said there was a lot of talk about turnovers, like saying somebody has a 100% free throw percentage, and the next one they clink it off the rim. And so we did not generate the turnovers, and we actually lost the turnover battle. And I know for some of you old football guys, that are longer too, turnover battle was always a big thing, but I think I've educated you guys on, the turnover battle is still really important, but there's some other elements that the big play battle, and for the first time in a couple of games, we got back on the right side of the ledger winning the big play battle. Our goal is to have 12 big plays in a game. Get that one, Sam? All right, just making sure. See, I'm educating. I don't want to get up here and do a police report. I want to try to educate. So I got some notes here that Dustin helps me with, just so y'all bear with me. So there's plenty of things on tape to learn from the Villanova game. It's obviously we're better than the way we played as a team, and that's where we'll be a team that continues to get better and continues to fix things as we go along. And that's the beauty, and that's what I really like about coaching, because if they did it right, they wouldn't need me, and you wouldn't have anything to write about. So I like being able to correct, coach, and develop, and that's what Maryland football's become. Plenty of tape to learn from, but it's always better to do it after a win, and I was happy. Going into this game, obviously, Indiana, man, Kurt Cignetti has done a tremendous job with that team. And if you look at the way he's coached and the way he came up from Elon, goes to JMU, continued a great tradition that JMU had, and then he gets this opportunity at Indiana. And, you know, I know his family, you know, as a college player, his dad, legendary coach at the other Indiana University, the one in Pennsylvania. I playing at Towson. We played them every year, and he comes from a football family, and I can just tell you, man, they're well coached. He came from the same tree. He's been under Coach Saban, and so when you watch this team, the thing that jumps out to me is they're not going to give us this game. They're the team. They're going to make us beat them. And for us, that has been the challenge. We're a team that kind of makes some mistakes, but we also have shown the propensity to score points if things are going well. It also shown the ability to be explosive. And so this game's going to come down to they'll figure out who to take away from us. And our complementary players on offense, somebody's going to have to step up and play big for us in this game. If you think that Ty Felton, you know, they're not going to try to do things to take Ty Felton out of the game, that's where I know the family he comes from as a coach, they're not going to let our best players win, and if they're going to try not. And that's the chess match where we've got to continue to find a way to keep Ty involved, keep Caden involved. But I think some of these complementary players that maybe haven't had as big a roles, the Dylan Wades, the Octavian Smiths, the Kobe McDonalds, these are the types of games, because you think 2 years ago when we went there, a guy named Billy Edwards, who's our starting quarterback now, came in and brought us from behind to win. These games have always been tough against Indiana, and I can tell you that Coach Cignetti, his staff, I think they've got 5 starters on defense that transferred with them from JMU. They've got 3 on offense that are playing well. They've got the former MAC Player of the Year in their quarterback. Really, really talented roster, and the way I see it, as I kind of look at it as being kind of executive producing this game, is this is almost like a combination of the 3 teams, the Michigan State, Virginia, and Villanova that we just played. And it's like combining all 3 of those teams. And so we got a big challenge on our hands, and it's on the road. And so we'll find out a lot about ourselves. I think flexibility is a big deal for us this week. You know, as you go further into the season, people scout you. They try to get tendencies on you, and I think it's going to be really important. And this is maybe where the youth of what we have on our team, the inexperience at O-line and corner, and we replaced a lot of starters. This is where I think that inexperience may benefit us, because the flexibility we have is that we do have some pieces to the puzzle that people don't know about yet. I just mentioned 3, Octavian Smith, Dylan Wade, Preston Howard, and then you throw in a Kobe McDonald, which is 4. They haven't been as prominent roles, and so the flexibility that we have there, and then we've played a lot of players on defense, doesn't allow people to necessarily know who we are, and that's an advantage. And then the last piece for me is the perspective. I mean, there's an element of a veteran team, because again, they have 8 starters that transferred in from JMU with them, and their best players on defense, the 2 linebackers were with them a year ago at JMU, know the system. They have a corner that knows the system. They got 2 guys up front, and so this isn't a Indiana team that has a bunch of people that don't know each other. And if you look at how they've been able to play in the first few games that they've played, you can tell that for us the challenge will be not Indiana but us. Will we do the things to execute the way we have to, because they're not going to allow the explosives down the field. We're going to have to put together some drives and block people and not just out big play people, and that's the challenge for this week for us. And on defense, again, best offense that we'll face, really sound in the RPO game. They got a set of backs that both are really talented. Their tight end is the guy that makes them go, and if you look at him on a stat sheet, you'd be like, he maybe doesn't have a bunch of stats, but he is the glue for them on offense. And this guy is really talented in the run game, and that's where sometimes we get enamored with catches and production there. But as a coach, when you look at things, as I think of them on offense, it's that tight end is the heart and soul of it, and he's effective in the run game, and he plays we call it style of play. His style of play is what you like when you respect the opponent. I respect the way he plays, and then that quarterback quarterback is tough as nails. Ohio University, MAC Player of the Year 2 years ago. I know he suffered an injury or something, but really talented player, and they've got him playing at a high level. So I said all of this to open it up for questions, so hopefully you have no questions. Oh, game captains. Let me look at my notes here. Game captains. Octavian Smith, Donnell Brown, and Colby McDonald. Wow. I figured that.
Hey, Coach. The offensive line has been really good so far. Just 1 sack allowed per game, one of the better units in the Big Ten. What improvements have you noticed from the UConn game to where we stand now?
Yeah, well, I thought you were talking about Indiana's offensive line. Because
no.
Our offensive line is a work in progress still. We're doing a great job of protecting our quarterback, but sometimes sacks, I've said this before, sacks aren't always offensive line driven, just like not giving them up isn't. We got a quarterback that's playing at a really high level. Our coordinator is doing a really good job of not exposing some of the things. Now, the areas that we've worked to continue to improve, that we've taken some steps forward, and then we have some injuries, and now we've got to fill in some spots. The run game, we have just got to become more consistent in the run game, the ability to get the positive yardage, to stay ahead of the sticks. And, running the ball, not because I say we need to run it more, but we just have to be more efficient. And last week we took a step forward. I think we averaged 5.3 yards per rush, which for us, it wasn't ever like a pretty where I knew we felt like we were running the ball. It was just we got some tough yardage. Roman made some guys miss, and we finished some runs the right way.
And you mentioned kind of quarterback, sacks aren't always on the offensive line. Are there any maybe specific metrics you guys use to kind of determine what is necessarily a quarterback sack? Maybe they're scrambling too much versus maybe just a regular.
Every play we evaluate. So if there is a sack, is it because we didn't get rid of the ball? Because there's a timing. I always say offensive football is timing and spacing. There's a timing element in the passing game, and if my quarterback, which one of the sacks Billy took, the one he took, should threw the ball away. Like, you don't have to take a sack if nobody's open. It's okay to not get any yards and play the next play rather than wait, hold on to the ball, and expose us by doing that. And then our quarterback has been playing at a high level.
Mike,
Dave, what's up, man?
Not much. Ty Felton's season, the year that he is having so far, what do you feel he's been able to take advantage of the first 4 weeks? How, without giving away state secrets, what have you guys been able to take advantage of with him, and what receivers that have come through Maryland does he remind you of?
A lot of good questions, but this gives me a chance to get on my soapbox because Ty Felton is one of my favorite players, man. And he's one of my favorite players because of seeing the way he has developed in our program. It's a reflection that what we talk about being a growth mindset, a developmental program, Ty embodies. 2 years ago, I was doing some research for this. A couple years ago, Ty Felton it was written about how the ball hit off his face mask against Michigan, I think, in one of our papers. Talked about, a year ago, I think we wrote about how he dropped a big play against Northwestern that maybe could have helped us win the game. And now everybody's like, Ty Felton is the best thing since sliced bread. And you know what? He is. And I don't say his pass to take away from what he's doing. But what I'm saying is Ty Felton has developed in our program. And if some people give us the ability to develop these players, you won't be as surprised about what Ty Felton does. Because nobody in our building is surprised. Because if you got to know him, if you see what I get to see every single day, this kid and Leon Houghton caught tennis balls off the tennis ball machine from 11 to 1 every night during the summer and all last season. And so, you know what? Ty is a byproduct of his work ethic, his effort that he puts in, and what this program kind of tries to do, develop people. So that's my soapbox on. I hope I answered your question.
And on a different note, their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, the stuff that he does, what does he do to a defense?
Well, I try to tell you, when I say it's a combination of those, he's a little bit of the Calandria kid at Virginia, that moxie I talked about Villanova's quarterback a week ago, and then even the Michigan State big arm freshman, Aiden kid from Michigan. He's kind of a mixture, and that's why the way our season is set up in the past 3 games have prepared us for this first road trip in the Big Ten. And I'm looking forward to see how we respond as I continue to evaluate us, as a program as the season goes along. And this team has continued to impress me, our team.
Mike, what do you hope the players have learned from the Big Ten game against Michigan State, and how do you hope they apply it to Saturday?
I mean, I kind of just went through a whole synopsis of all the things. I don't think we're not still on the Michigan State, but we're in how we prepare for Indiana. We understand that the thing that showed up in the mid, we didn't finish well, okay? Well, in the Virginia game, we came back and held the ball for 5 minutes and 9 seconds. Last week, the middle eight becomes an issue. For us, it's the consistency, and it wasn't even about Michigan State. Everything I've talked about is about me as a coach, us as a program, and it's going to always be that way. So however you want to write it, it'll always be written like, what do we have to do? Because it's very rarely going to be about our opponent the way our program is set up. It's about us playing our best on Saturday and me getting the best out of these guys and putting them in position to play their best. And you know what? I like this team, man. You guys just sit back. I like this team.
Kind of an oddball for you today, Coach.
Sam with the oddball. You're becoming that guy, huh, Sam?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Cool. I like that.
So what's your relationship like with Johnny Holiday? I know you guys obviously do shows, and he's been here for a while. Take me through that guy and your relationship with him.
It should be called the Johnny Holiday radio show. I mean, I'm kind of like his sidekick. And, no, man, I have known Johnny for the 16 seasons I've been here at Maryland, and I think there are very few people that love the University of Maryland the way I do. I always tell the story of how, like, where we practice right now. Hey, where'd you get that sweatshirt from? She's trying to. The way they practice over there, our practice fields used to be the area where I used to scout tickets for Maryland games. You know, Cole Fieldhouse was right here, and you had the tennis courts, and then you had Lot Z used to have a hill, like it was kind of like a 3-level lot, and it is almost like Johnny Holiday was calling those games. And so to listen to him and now be sitting next to him, sometimes I pinch myself. And I'm being real, because this guy embodies in what Maryland is about. Mm-hmm. And he's probably the biggest fan that I know next to me.
Hey, Mike, I remember talking at the beginning of the year, you were saying how the defense was really going to be the key to the team. There was, I don't know if you actually said there was pressure on the defense or not, but really the defense was going to be.
Defensive-led team. We still are.
Right. But now after 4 games and coming into the Indiana game and seeing what Billy's been able to do and Ty and et cetera, is it balancing out? Like, how do you look at the team right now?
Well, we're still a defensive-led team. If you want to judge a team, look at kind of our special teams right now. We're playing a lot of young guys on special teams because that's one of the areas where they can help us immediately. And if you look at that, like, we got a bunch of defensive guys that are starters on special teams. Dante Trader, Ruben Hippolyte, they're on our punt team. I know that Glenn Miller's on our punt team. We've got a bunch of starters on our kickoff team running down, covering kicks. And so the defensive guys are – you could tell the character of a team by their special teams. And if you look at our special teams, we have more defensive guys this year they're playing prominent roles on special teams. And so that, to me, is why when I talk about it, they still lead us. I mean, these guys got a lot of experience. You look at the first 4 games of our season, and you know, our defense, minus not finishing at the end of the Michigan State game, has played really pretty well for us. It's just been the consistency and the alignment of all 3 phases. We're still a defensive-led team, in my opinion.
Hey, Coach. As you look back at the first 4 games of the season, where do you see the biggest area of improvement now heading into the Big Ten slate?
Our biggest area of improvement as a team, I would say, obviously, it turns to that turnover battle. Like, we've protected the ball on offense. You know, the interception we had a week ago and the fumble, man, those are a tip ball. I mean, tip balls never end up in the right hands typically. They always end up in bad places. And to have the tip ball and then Kobe's touchdown, I mean, his fumble, I mean, we're in position to where that play could have very easily been a touchdown, and it ends up not getting points. So I would just say that we've done a really good job defensively with getting them, and then offensively, we've protected the ball for the most part. Our margin of error, we always talk about that in here. A margin of error is the number of plays where you have self-inflicted wounds. And I would say that we've played under our goal, which our goal is to be under 12%, Sam, for your oddball question. Under 12% of the plays we have on offense should contain a sack, a fumble, an interception, offensive penalty, or a drop pass. Those are 5 things that are self-inflicted on offense. And so if, you take the number of plays we get, which we try to get 80, if that 12% margin, if you're under 12% of those plays containing one of those 5 self-inflicted wounds, based on Ralph Friedgen's formula, and that's where I first learned it in 2001, you win 90% of the games because you're not beating yourself. And to me, that's where every game this year we've been under the 12% threshold. And I can tell you, I don't think there's been a run like that here. And those are little hidden things that, now Sam has learned some stuff. He's going to use it against me 4 games later, right? You're going to be figuring out, your margin of error was 22% today, coach. So just trying to help us out a little bit, educate us.
Take 2 more in the back.
What's up, Coach, back here?
You like this relaxed thing, don't you, Sean? It's kind of like we're in the barbershop just talking.
Yeah. Where's the
just kind of hanging out?
Where's the
there.
cocktails?
Yeah, no drinking.
Anyway,
we're cutting hair right now. Johnny's had a few already. He's retired now. Look at the legendary Johnny.
It's pretty laid back today, isn't it?
Yeah. It's rainy day, man. Rain is weird for me. Like I'm a sun guy. How many of y'all sun guys out here? God, I hate when I wake up it's gray, man. It's bad for cream of mushroom soup. That makes you even more depressed. Who's cream of mushroom in a gray day? Like, really? Come on. Mushrooms grow in the dark. We want light. Give us light. Sean, I'm sorry.
Here's your light, Coach. So as you jump into Big Ten play now, and given the way Game 2 ended, against
I'm not going back there. So,
can you kind of characterize the importance of getting that Big Ten win and starting this rest of the schedule off the right way, and how big that is going forward?
Yeah, so I'm gonna shave all that down because you talked about the past, and then you want to talk about the future, how this helps the future, and we're going right back here to the moment. We got Indiana this week on the road. Probably, I was there for the first Big Ten win we ever had in 2014, and that was a dogfight. Every game against them has been a dogfight. They're a well-coached team. Indiana has all of our attention. Not one bit of Michigan State, and nothing forward is in the minds of us other than what maybe we learned, which is we've already been working and correcting. And so we got enough on our hands. It's a Big Ten road game. I mean, go back and check the records. I mean, most people playing on the road, you don't have a lot of success typically. But that's what I love about being able to go play it, have a scoreboard and time on the clock, that if we have an opportunity, we'll have a chance. And that's what I like about this team. And we'll do the work this week. And Indiana's a big game because it's the next one on our schedule, and it's a conference game, like you said. So, I mean, that's how I've shaped it for us, and that's the direction we're moving.
Coach, obviously Billy's been one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten.
No, come on, man.
Come on now.
What did you think about you thought that you thought that was a good decision?
I mean, from the jump.
Did you write anything about the decision?
I did.
What did you think?
I said it was a good call.
Okay.
But I do think that early on in the season.
Because you're not a fan, though.
Not a fan.
I heard you say you're not a fan.
Not a fan.
As a media member, you're not allowed to be a fan.
1,000% media credential.
All right, just want to make sure.
I do think that I expect to see more of the quarterback run, though, and that hasn't really been a big part of the offense. Do you think that'll increase as we get into conference play, or do you like where it's at right now?
We go into every game trying to figure out what gives us the best chance to win from a menu of plays. Sometimes it may be his feet. Sometimes it's getting it to the best players. Like I told you, we have touch charts. Our quarterback has a touch chart. Typically my goal is maybe get Billy 3 to 5. Some of them happen organically. Some of his best runs come off of drop back passes. I don't know if I like my starting quarterback getting hit a lot. So, when you say on third and medium to get a first down, yeah. Red area, yeah. Just to say we are a quarterback run-based system, that's not who we are, and that's not what I've been in a long time. So we utilize his skill set. Josh does a great job of kind of shaping a plan that fits what Billy does best, and right now I think we've got it figured out right now. So we'll keep working to make it better. Is that it? That's it. Oh, man. Thank you guys very much. Thank you very much. And then, Johnny. Thank you very much, Johnny.
Game week coming up soon. We'll be on the plane here in just a few days heading to Jersey, which is awesome. It's awesome to go back home for me. Get to see my family, so that's exciting, and also excited for our team to be able to go and experience what I think will be a fantastic environment on Friday night. I know that they're having a blackout. I know that they're extremely excited about being 3-0 and playing at a very high level of football. There's no question that you could feel that Rutgers feels this is their best team they've had in a long time. And Coach Schiano does a fantastic job of making sure that his team is ready to go. I think he's certainly one of the best coaches in college football, so it's going to be a great challenge for us. He's in his 5th year there, the second go-around. I think he's in his 16th year altogether. But the last 5 years, you could see how he wanted to build it, the process he went through, the recruiting classes each year to get it to where he wants it today. Our team's excited about going out there, excited about our first Big Ten road game, and then really know that we've got to play our best football. We've got to bring our brand of football that we're trying to work through right now in our process of being disciplined and being physical. And we need to finish a few more plays. And then on the same token, continue to play good defense, continue to play good ball control on offense, continue to be one of the more explosive offenses in the country, and then also find a way to sustain a few more drives. So definitely excited about this opportunity on Friday evening, but also know we got a lot of work to do between now and then.
How much family do you still have out there, and is there a chance for a team dinner at somebody's house on Friday night?
Well, we can't have a team dinner because we'll wind up we get in a little bit later on Thursday night, but I think we have about 50 people coming to the game with family and friends and friends' kids and all of that. So high school coaches, and so it should be fun. And then obviously it's Steve's alma mater as well. So there's a lot of tie there, but for the most part, it's just about bringing our Washington team over to New Jersey and then seeing how well we can play there.
Do you have a history with Greg Schiano at all?
I've known Greg for a very long time. I've gotten to know him through the years at different places, but never worked with him. And, I don't know how many times I could even think about that we ever played against one another when he was a coach, but I've known him for a very long time, really since he became the Rutgers head coach.
Do you make it back there a lot still, or to New Jersey?
Yeah. I mean, my mom lives there. Unfortunately, I lost my brother the first day of spring ball this year. But prior to that, we would go back. I'd go back a lot to see him and see my mom. So they're both. It's my only sibling, so it's just now it's just my mom. So yeah, I'll be out back there, and all my friends are there. So we always go back in the summer and the holiday season and whatnot.
Have you talked to Steve Belichick about his football experience, sir?
Not much. We haven't talked much about that. No.
After looking at tape, both offense and defense, what stood out to you the most?
I'll continue to start with our defense. They certainly played an extremely high level. Really, they didn't let them drive the ball at all. The points they got, one was on a safety, and one was after a fumbled snap that they got the ball on the 30-something yard line and held them to a field goal. And those were the only 5 points that Northwestern had. They had the goal line stand, but that's based on a 90-yard kickoff coverage or kickoff return. So I think defensively we swarmed the ball. We disrupted the passer. We had a bunch of TFLs, a bunch of sacks, and a couple interceptions, and thought our defense just played exceptionally well. Offensively, I think we did a lot of good things really well. We hit some, early. We were playing at a really high level. Hit some explosive plays down the field. Hit some red zone passes. Unfortunately, got stopped on a 3rd and 3 on the 3. And then, after that, had another chance and fumbled the ball before the half was over, and then had a chance to kick a 52-yarder to make it 20-2, I guess it would have been at halftime, and made it, and then had to kick it again the second time. It didn't hit on that. So came back in the second half, played pretty good. At times, had a really, really nice touchdown drive. And then, again, you get to the end of the game, and we just wanted to use the clock, and we wanted to stay healthy and try to use as much as the fourth quarter clock running the football as we could. Got down to the 9-yard line or so didn't convert on a 4th and 1. But I think for the most part, we had a really good 4-minute offense, finished the ball, took a knee at the end.
Jedd, the grounding call was preceded by a false start and Denzel fair catching that punt on the 6. Do you want him making that fair catch there, or is there a zone where you just want to let it drop and bounce in?
Yeah, we tell him anywhere we want to put your heels on the 5. Heels on the 5, and then, it happened to land on the 6. So it was kind of one of those spots that if it was the 4.5 or if he had to turn his body at all, we would have let it bounce. But when you're on the 6, that's about right. You like the 6 yards is plenty good enough to run normal offense. And then we wind up false starting on the first play of that sequence. So now you're on the 3. And at that time, probably should have ran the ball there on the 3-yard line, get back to, let's call it the 5 or the 6, and then figure out what you wanted to do, what I wanted to do there. But, the grounding penalty was one in which, they did a good job holding Jonah up in the flat there when we were running the boot. And so he wasn't able to get out. And Will couldn't see that he couldn't get out because of the pressure came so fast in his face. So that was an unfortunate one that we'll all learn from.
Health-wise, are you getting anybody back this weekend?
Expectation is Durfee's back. Expectation is Fowler will be back. And then we're waiting on the others that couldn't play. But the expectation is those 2 guys should be good to go.
Quentin is still a real question.
Yeah.
Kickoff returns, I know that you got to be a little frustrated with that. Can you tell us what's going on that and on kickoff? So you're telling Grady to kick it to the goal line or just boot it out?
No, booting it out would be great. We'd love touchbacks. Put the ball in the 25 would be fantastic, but not everyone boots out. Not every you don't have the ability, let's call it, to have a touchback every time. But I would love it if we could. So there's times that the returns are happening. And when the returns are happening, we have to stay in our lanes. We have to cover down well. We have to make tackles. We can't go outside of the framework of the cover team. Sometimes the guy wants to go make a play, and you get out of your lane, and that's when things happen that are concerning. So we're working extra hard at it this week. I know Coach Ciano is a fantastic special teams coach. That's kind of what he's known for. So we're going to work very hard. We've added periods in special teams in practice this week for our coverage units as well as our kick units, and we're going to see how good we can. Plus, you get some guys back. Anthony Ward, I think, will be back as well. So it looks as if we're going to get 3 of our best special teams players back this week as well, which should help.
How about Quentin Moore? Sorry if you didn't address that.
I don't think so. I don't think Quentin's going to be able to go yet, unfortunately.
Kyle Monunga is one of the best running backs in college football. What are you doing this week in practice to prepare for him, and what do you need to see from your defense to slow him down?
Well, our defense gets to go against Jonah every day, and our defense gets to go against Adam Muhammad when Jonah's not in, or Cam Davis when Jonah or Adam's not in. And then they get a break and they get to go against Jordan Washington or Sam Adams. So there's really not a break. And then they have Daniel Nagata giving a great look. So what I'm most excited about is the fact that our defense has seen all throughout spring and all throughout training camp a really good stable of running backs. And they've also seen a quarterback when DeMond is in that they have to defend the quarterback as well. It gives us an ability when you go against quarterbacks that are dual threats or quarterbacks that can run. They get to see that in scout team as well as all the different backs. So I think that we have some really good backs, as do they. And I would imagine that our defense has been preparing for those moments when they've gone against some of the elite backs that we have here as well.
Are you thinking Mikel Esteen might be out a while too, or is he?
No, I don't think it's a while. That's a day-by-day situation. We're just waiting. It's a bruise. It's a significant bruise, contusion that we have to make sure he can make it back. Probably, my guess is it's a week. We'll have an 8-day break, in between Friday and next Saturday, that probably fits perfect for him, but we'll wait and see.
I don't know if you remember a guy from Washington, Travis Feeney, but he came in as a freshman. He was undersized, and they would put him in and say, just run after the quarterback because he could move so well. With Kamari Hallis being named, conference player, freshman of the week this week, is that what he does, just put him out there and run, or does he really understand the defense?
No.
He seems like he's playing real well.
Yeah, no, I think he does more than just go out there and run. I think he definitely has picked up the defense. He's really done a fantastic job of studying film. Both Zoe and Bruner have taken Kamari under their wing. You see them upstairs watching film, and you see Kamari right next to him. You see guys like Fowler teaching Kamari when Fowler's not going, some of the things to look for. And Kamari's done a really nice job of learning the system. But one thing that makes him special is how hard he plays, how hard he practices. He's going to go 100 miles an hour every chance he has. And for that, it gives us a great chance. And that's how he found the ball that one time on the interception.
Jedd, you mentioned that you thought you should have run the ball before the grounded call. We talk a lot about your take on players' evaluation. How do you kind of evaluate yourself as a play caller after 4 games, the job you're doing?
I don't evaluate. I've called 12 years of games. I'm not going to evaluate with the 4 games. I say that we could have run the ball there, and looking back on it, you'd love to say, in that situation, probably where the score was. You run the ball, but I don't worry about evaluating play calling. That's what you guys do so well.
We've seen Justin Harrington on special teams. Curious where he's at in terms of the rotation at safety on defense and kind of how he's adapted to things here.
He does. He's done a nice job. He's done great things on special teams. He's extremely athletic. He's worked his way into the rotation, both at a little bit of a linebacker dime position for us, as well as that third safety position when we go into some 3 safety sets or 3 safety defense. He's done well. We've been very fortunate. Mikel's was playing really well before he got a little banged up. Cam Fab is playing extremely well. Cam Broussard is playing really well. So I think our safety room has looked real good at this point. Vince Holmes has come in as a redshirt freshman and made some big impacts as well. So it's nice to see the amount of guys that are making impacts. And as we continue to go through the process of finding different players for different areas to do different things, we're going to continue to play some young guys, some older guys, and see what it all looks like as we're building the program.
Coach, you guys start class this week, and then you travel, and it's a night game. There's a lot of extra kind of things maybe going on this week. How have you addressed that with your team to make sure that they've got everything squared?
Yeah, the most important thing we can do is stay focused on school when it's time for school, stay focused on football when it's time for football, stay focused on recovery when it's time for recovery. I think that all of it said and done is that they have to compartmentalize. And when you're a student athlete and you're at a school like University of Washington, which is one of the top 10 public institutions in the country, you're going to have an academic requirement that is significant. And it's really important for our players to understand that they've chosen to come here for both a degree at Washington as well as to have athletic success. To do that, you're going to have to sacrifice some other things outside of football and academics, and that's the point of emphasis that we make with them.
Is there ever a consideration going an extra day early?
There was not this week. We are going to do that when we play Iowa, based upon we believe that game will be in the afternoon. Because this game is at night, 5 p.m. our time, 8 p.m. their time, we didn't feel that we needed to do a 2-dayer. Anytime the kickoff becomes, let's call it, really anytime before 4 o'clock, we would go 2 days early.
Coach, when I'm down on the sidelines pregame, there's a guy on the sidelines who just really jumps out to me with his size, and he just looks like a big dude, and that's a freshman, Omar Khan. He just looks like a dude. Can you talk a little bit about where he's at?
Yeah. Well, with Omar, he's, I think, 49-1 as a heavyweight wrestler out of Texas. So he's big, he's strong. He likes contact. He's done a really nice job with the service team right now, helping our offense get better as a defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman. He's competing really well with some of the older guys in the defensive line. But, you've got Javon Parker and Jacob Bandez. You've got Seabass playing at a high level. You got Alenius Davis playing at a good level. You've got a lot of guys in that rotation that Omar's really learning from. And as those guys are continuing to make plays, he's beginning to see that. Then you got a guy like Voy, who is playing inside, outside, D tackle, D end, and another person in that rotation. So Omar's learning, getting some good mental reps during the game, during the film sessions, and then get some extremely good physical reps at practice.
Speaking of Voy, he's somebody who's just been really impactful, especially in this last game. Just how much has he had with that flexibility and the athleticism that he brings?
He's added a ton. I believe he had 1 sack, 4 pressures on the quarterback, 3 tackles this past game. He's continues to do a lot of things in disruption. He's kind of like a defensive disruptor. He gets on the field and he's disrupting the timing of the quarterback. He gets on the field, he disrupts some of the zone blocking schemes because he's quicker than most defensive linemen at his position. We're able to move him inside at 3 technique. We're able to play him outside at 6 technique. We're able to do different things with him that gives him some freedoms. We were able to drop him and spy the quarterback. So when you have a guy with that kind of flexibility, it gives you a lot of opportunity.
Jordan Shaw has made a lot of great plays this year. He's also had some penalties. What have you see from him, with regard to that, and how has he been developing as a true sophomore?
Jordan Shaw, right? That's what you said, yeah? Yeah, so Jordan's a redshirt freshman. He came here from, let's call it Arizona via Indiana, or Indiana via Arizona, however you want to look at it. So we only had him for about a month at Arizona. He's doing great. He's doing great. He's making some penalties. He's making some decisions that have cost a DPI this past week, a defensive holding the week before, that we've got to work through. And as we're continuing this process of building this program with a lot of guys that are in our first year together, or in their first year together, and a lot of them in their first year of playing big-time football, those mistakes are going to come. We're not playing with the oldest team in college football. We're playing with one of the younger ones. And when you play with a bunch of guys that are from different spots and different areas, there's going to be some mistakes that are growing pains that we're working through in a new offensive system, a new defensive system, new special team system, and all new players. The process of Jordan Shaw improving has been great. And I think over these next 3 years, we're going to see a really, really, really good DB.
Is Max McCurry going to be available this week?
Yes. The expectation is that he's full go at practice tomorrow.
What was your take on the way he played before he got hurt?
Max?
Yeah.
Well, the first third down, he got maybe beat inside on an inside pass rush move. After that, settled down, played well, put us in position. I think we ran the ball for 150 yards against the number 6 rushing defense in the country. That was a good football team, and they've won 7 of the last 8 games they played. They were 8-5 last year. The Big Ten Coach of the Year, and I think that Max did a nice job of handling a very stout defensive front, the best in his first ever start in big time football. And last year, I think he was blocking some guys in junior college, and this year he was lining up against a defense that was one of the better defenses in the Big Ten last year. So proud of Max and proud of everything he's gone through.
Did he start at junior college and then go back to JC after Maryland, and then now he's back with you guys? You know why he went back to JC?
Yeah, it was a personal situation to help take care of his mom. So that was the closest junior college to his mom, and his mom had some medical issues that he was there to take care of her.
I know you addressed this a little bit after the game, but since watching the film and looking at practice, the snapping situation with Will and the fumbles and...
Yeah, we got to get better at it. We got to keep working at it. We got to keep working through the process of, the center quarterback exchange is one of the most critical part of an offensive snap. So we had a drop snap against Washington State in the Apple Cup on a 3rd and 7 on the 22. We had a fumbled snap this past week that resulted in Northwestern getting the ball. We had another fumbled snap that resulted in us falling on it for a 6-yard loss. And we had a bobbled snap that ended up with a 15-yard scramble, but it still concerns me. So we'll continue to work through it. It's been 2 different centers, different quarterback. Will with both centers, I should say. So we're going to continue to work through it, and hopefully this week will be a little bit better than last.
Is the issue the different centers, or is it just a different generation of quarterbacks that don't grow up under center?
I don't know the issue there. I think that I think that it's not that big of an issue right now. We got to just make sure that we continue to improve in that area, and probably these are some growing pains that occur when you're asking guys to do a lot of things that are new. I don't know how many times at Portland State they were, taking the snaps under center. Or I don't know how many times that Landon Hatchett was lining up against, Washington State and snapping the ball. And I don't know, altogether who's to blame. I know we just have to get it fixed and get it better.
One more thing? Yeah, real quick. You mentioned that Michigan might be a good target date for Ryan Otten and Kevin Green. Are they still on track to make that?
I'd be surprised if either of those guys make Michigan. I would hope that Quentin Moore and Mikkel and I would say those guys have a great shot at that, though.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kanye and Keanu are out for the season. Going over the film against LSU, players play hard in the first half. We didn't execute, like I said, in the second half, but it's still promising. We're close. But like I said before, there's no moral victories in football. We got to get better, and as long as my guys continue to improve each week, I'm excited for the growth.
Well, those injuries, 2 important guys. How bad do you feel for them, and losing that for the year?
Yeah, anytime you have season-ending injuries, it's not it sucks. So, I feel for those guys, and just one positive, we get it back next season. So, sorry about that.
Keanu was an Achilles. What was Kanye?
Yeah, they were both out.
Okay. Same thing for both? Or?
No, it was just 2 season-ending injuries.
Okay.
Don't want to make any assumptions, but is this a reflection of playing at 8 p.m. on Saturday, just practice time?
No, I just wanted to change my Monday around a little bit to give the coaches just a little bit more time to game plan and stuff like that. It's a quick turnaround first thing in the morning on Monday morning, so I just wanted to change the rhythm of that.
So will you do this going forward, or you think every Monday?
I think maybe, we'll see how practice goes.
What is your reaction to 8 p.m. start? I think it's the latest since you played in '99 against. You were at Ohio State, had an 8 p.m. start at the Horseshoe there.
It's very disrespectful, but no, I'm just kidding. It's okay, It's the old conference at night. What was it called? There you go.
Big 10 after that.
Exactly. That's what it is. But it's a 2 West Coast teams, so the time shouldn't be too bad for either one of us. But we might have. We'll play any time really, so I'm not worried about that. But the Rose Bowl should be rocking at 8 o'clock.
You have to looking forward towards Saturday. Anything about that Oregon offense that sticks out, and any plans to stop that?
They got some explosive players. Quarterback's really good. Got 15 fast out there at receiver. 20's a good running back. So they got a good old line. So it's just an explosive offense, lefty, that quarterback. So, we just got to find ways to keep them off the field and, shorten this game and play our ball, our brand of ball.
How are you measuring success in the run game right now? Because we look at it simplistically in terms of yards gained, but you mentioned staying ahead of the chains and stuff. So how are you measuring that success right now?
It's baby steps. It might not be the numbers that we want, but it's improving each week. So I just like that guys are they're chomping at the bit. They want to be able to run the ball, So I know you guys talked to TJ last week, and they want to be able to run the ball. And I just think as long as we can continue to make strides in the right direction, eventually to get to exactly where we want it to be.
If I can just rephrase the question quick, even when the yards aren't coming, like what is the run game? Are they contributing anything else offensively? Is blocking an asset? Like
what do you mean? Who? Like are they? Who is that? Like what?
It's like the running backs.
You saw TJ catch screens and other stuff out of the backfield, and he's been successful in other things. So, the numbers might not be exactly what you guys want them to be, but as long as we're keeping defenses off balance, I think we're okay.
Well, Jalen obviously flashed again against LSU. How much closer is he to maybe even getting involved earlier in games and getting some touches?
What position does Jalen play?
Burger. Running back.
Running back. So, there's another running back flashing and giving us some good plays. So, it was just another guy we can get in the mix. Keegan had a couple good runs in there also. So, like I said, it's an improvement. The run game is coming along. It's I'm not gonna say it's dormant or anything like that, but it's getting there. And if you're comparing it to other seasons, then yeah, it might not be exactly where we want it to be, but I'm confident that eventually it'll be exactly what we want. So.
Coach, I wanted to ask about a couple players. Sharif Say, I believe this is his only year of eligibility left, and it's shocking. We're already a quarter of the way through the season. What's his status?
It's getting there. I think this probably be the game that you'll see him get a little bit more playing time, but it's you have to be ready to go. We don't want to put people in bad situations, so it's more of a make sure he knows everything that he's doing and physically ready to go.
Is that the same thing with Collins and Champon?
Collins is on scout team. He's actually coming. He had a couple injuries that he's fighting through right now, so we like that he's still out here every day and still trying to improve.
With Carter Shaw, we talked about him a little bit after the game the other day. Obviously, his dad, David Shaw. Do you see any reflection of his dad being a very smart football coach, football mind in Carter? Do you see anything that kind of makes you think, hey, this guy's pretty sharp? Maybe that was something he got from his dad.
I think his dad played 3 sports at Stanford. I'm not sure.
Oh.
So. Yeah, I think you guys should check that out. I think he played 3 sports, so most definitely he got a lot of that from his dad. Also his mom too, but he's a talented kid, and he's pretty good when he has the ball in his hands. So I'm just excited that he's on our side.
Quasi obviously had a nice game. How much more do you hope to maybe get him involved in the offense? Depending on what happens with Titus's status.
Just continue to make plays, Guys go down, other guys get opportunities, and you should just try to make the best of your opportunities. And I'm just glad that Carter, being a freshman in that type of environment, he was able to make a lot of plays, and, hopefully we can just build off from that.
Femi started at edge the last game. Just how is his versatility and his attitude to maybe being an asset to this team?
He's just somebody that's always positive. He's a true team player. He wants to find ways to help the team no matter what. So, that was a position that we wanted to get a little bit more depth and, try to create ways to get more pressure. And, Femi was all for it because, if you can be somebody that has a few tools on your tool belt, when you get to the next level, that's pretty good for you.
Progos started over Makahele this last game. What went into that decision?
Say it again.
Nicky Progos started over Olave Makahele.
Mm-hmm. Progos just a guy that's trending up. He started at right tackle in the first game, and just the fact that he can play multiple positions and be a walk-on is just. He's just special, So, he's just a guy that we know we can rely on. He's going to be in the right spots at the right time, and, we're just trying to get him more reps.
Is that competition basically opened up for this week, or are you already leaning one way or another?
Which one?
Right guard.
I would probably say that, barring some injuries happen, but it probably just going to be Pongo.
You go from an 8 p.m. start to a 9 a.m. body clock start against Penn State. Is that just kind of life in the Big Ten right now?
I got a game at 8 o'clock. That's all I'm focused on. So that other game, that's for you guys to talk about. You got a game at 8 o'clock. this Saturday at the Rose Bowl. So we're going to lock in on that, and that could be the first question next week.
Okay.
Are you still going to work out at 5 a.m.?
I don't even know if I should tell what time I'm out there working out, because we could have people try to jump out there at the field. So, you know, I just train sometime during the day. You know, sometime during the day.
After digesting the film, some good and some bad, I do look at the game as a whole as a good college football game, back and forth. I really talked to the team after the game in the locker room and yesterday. You know, momentum swings and whatnot, I did feel like we battled for 4 quarters. I think about the end of the first half, we kick a field goal going to halftime with some momentum. We're up 7, starting with the ball, right, the second half, and put the ball on the ground. Defense shows up, backs them up, hold them to a field goal. 2 plays later, offensively false start, throw an interception, give them the ball again. They punch that in immediately. We're all of a sudden from, you know, momentum's in. We got the lead, momentum totally flipped, 10-point swing in whatever it was, 2 minutes. But the response, and we understand the thing's a long game. Battled throughout, huge goal line stop, huge 4th down stop on the goal line. We take the ball over at the 2, march the thing all the way down, multiple 3rd down conversions, 4th down conversion, and we can't finish in the end zone, and that really separated things. We kicked the field goal, which again, Kim had an awesome game. And then, yeah, we lost the last 4 minutes there by them executing and scoring and us not. But we did play for 4 quarters, and I think that just continues to be a resounding theme of this team, which we need to keep moving forward. You know, overall, defensively, there's a lot to like there, containing a really good player in that quarterback. But obviously looking for one more stop. Offensively, we got two glaring things, right? Taking care of the ball, can't turn the thing over. And I do this red zone touchdown percentage is not where it needs to be, and so we've got to continue to make improve in that area. Special teams wise, mentioned Kim, but I will say that the protection, Eckley has a great hold on one of those field goal attempts. I think it was the last one, and he punted well. At the same time, we've got protection issue there on punt. The second one we got to clean that up. We got exposed there. Really fortunate he got the thing off, and obviously on the kick return, it's not just on K-Ron. Yeah, he's got to hold on to the ball, but we can't just give free access to getting hit on the 10-yard line, and so that's what we're looking at, and we'll be back to work and try to improve on some of that stuff. And we're going to need to do it because, good opponent coming in. Looking forward to a Saturday night against Ohio State and our place and whatnot. Got a bunch of respect for that program and those coaches and those players, and it'll be a real challenge that we're going to put a lot of work in this week to take on. So with that, questions.
Jonathan, I know we mentioned or talked about your practice schedule being a Sunday team. I was just wondering what you saw from your guys yesterday, and over the course of time, has that ever been a benefit when coming off a loss to get right back out there?
Because we got back so late, we got back, I think it was about 4 a.m. Truly when we got back. So we did not practice yesterday. We did kind of digest the film and met with the guys. Obviously, moods are down when you put a lot of work in and you're trying to win a game and come up short. I do think the mindset, though, is that every Sunday, win or lose, we're going to approach the thing, what did we learn? What do we got to get fixed? And there was plenty there. At the same time, we try to highlight what went well, because we had some guys progressing. We did a better job on the penalty side. Yeah, not just avoiding penalties, but being smart around the quarterback and the sideline. So that's how we approached it, and I think those guys were locked in, and now we're back to work on our next one.
Kind of along those lines, so you have 3 straight night games in a row. I mean, have you tried to prepare for that in terms of shifting schedules at all with that, or
not really? Our weekly approach, again, there is still school going on, so being able to change your schedule a bunch is not a reality if you want them going to class. So our weekly approach has been similar. When we play really late, like at 7, we get some things done on Saturday morning, walkthrough wise, but that's really the only difference.
I think we forget you got a 19-year-old quarterback sometimes. He plays with a kind of an abandon, and yet is there a line you have to find between playing with reckless abandon and playing with energy, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a fine line, and you want to play to the edge and not cross it. And again, there's some learning experience going. Aiden's working at it. I think we got to continue to work to help him scheme-wise, right? We're always looking for put him in the best position, but I always still think of those other 10 guys. We could help him out a ton by running the ball more effectively, efficiently, not getting in some of these situations where it's 3rd and 10 again and asking him to get us out of that. So it's a group effort to avoid the negative plays and try to keep him out of a situation where he it's all on him.
Jedd, it's obviously a new staff, half the roster's turned over, but it's been a while since this next matchup's really been competitive. Do you talk to the team at all about belief this week and sort of making sure their confidence is that they sort of belong on the field in this game, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't know, but a ton of them are going to talk about it like being belonging. We're excited about opportunity on Saturday. We get 12 of them guaranteed. I want our approach to be pretty consistent. We respect everybody we play. Obviously, these guys demand some respect, and so we'll give them that with our work and preparation. I think hopefully we'll get them to the point on Saturday. They're going to be excited playing this game. There's some good players on the other side, and the atmosphere at our place, counting on it being packed and full of energy, and they're going to be excited to play.
Just to follow up on Aiden, just what did you see from him yesterday? What was his attitude like? And then obviously going up against one of the nation's best defense, how do you just hope to see him respond throughout this week and then obviously on Saturday as well?
Yeah, he was disappointed, just like everybody in the building was. He's anxious to get back and look at it, get to work, fix some things. Again, it's about learning in these games. Not just for him, for ourselves, the coaches, the players, everybody continuing to learn. And really gain some confidence that, we can do it at a high level. We've got to do it at a more consistently, and that's been his approach, and I'm counting on it tomorrow at practice being the same.
Jonathan, what can you do with the red zone efficiency? What's the problem there that is correctable? Mm-hmm. And when you look at Aiden's picks, are they read and recognition or just errant throws?
This particular game on the interceptions, the couple of decisions, reads, was more the issue than just being flat out errant with it. Red zone issues are, again, you got to find ways to get in. I think you start a little bit with the run game, condense space, get down there. You got to make it physical. We haven't been able to get that going. I think a little bit, sometimes we want to take a shot at it first. So there's a lot of ways to look at things, and we got to find the best to be able to score. So I'm not really answering your question, but I'm starting with the run game and then whether we take some shots at it. I'm not going to give our whole game plan away, but we haven't been effective really doing either one.
Jonathan, having been in the league with Chip Kelly for a little bit there, I'm wondering when you look at their offense, do you see things you recognize? Is it different than what they used to do at UCLA, and just in general what stands out about how they've been scoring a lot of points?
You see some similarities that innovative, they can run the ball, they got some pace to them tempo-wise. The quarterback has answers, whether he, in the run game or the pass game, really, really effective and challenging to defend.
You mentioned about being more effective and efficient in the run game. I guess when you see some of because it seems like the opponents have gotten a lot of backfield penetration on the handoff. Has there been any root cause of that? I mean, because it seems like it's coming from, sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's from the edge.
Yeah, I don't know if there's one particular reason. I know we've had some missed assignments, so you cut a guy loose, he's going to be in the backfield. Then it goes to a fundamental, especially on the outside plays. Our first step's not good enough, so now we're getting exposed and guys getting penetration. We got to be able to mix and match inside to outside that, and it hadn't just been like one particular player, because we could address just that. But we've got some things to clean up in regards to recognition, footwork, and it's on the edge of it too. I'm not just talking to the 5-0 lineman.
Hi, Jonathan. I dare wade into the world of social media. 3-1 now, potentially being 4-0. Spartan fan response to this panic or patience. How do you respond to that as far as where things should be?
Well, there's definitely not panic, at least in our building, right? At the same time, there's a sense of urgency. We want to play, be playing our best football at the end. We got to keep on improving. We had opportunity to win a game, but we also had opportunity to be sitting here at 1-3, and so we've been able to finish on a field. Last game we didn't, but there's not panic, but there's definitely urgency in our building.
Coach, obviously you always want to win, but is there almost a silver lining to experiencing a loss before you head into this tough stretch?
Yeah, so again, I want our approach if we win or lose the game to be similar. So again, we pride ourselves when we win games that we don't just gloss over flaws that we have. And so it's going to be the same mindset this week of like, yeah, we came up short, but we got a great opportunity this, coming in front of us and approaching it that we got to put in some work to get better.
Jonathan, I was wondering about the offensive line. Obviously, you shook some things up last week. What you thought of that, and then where do you see it going this week and any other changes?
Yeah, Ed Brandon, kind of first time getting a bunch of snaps there inside. It was new on him, but again, he did some good things. As a whole, we got to find some more consistency there. We'll see what this week looks like if we, keep the same 5 guys or not. But those guys know we got to continue to improve, just like everybody. There was some good snaps. Think about that 4th and 1, and that was a huge play in the game. And those guys created enough movement. K-Ron had a nice carry, and so there's some snaps of really positive play. We just want more of them.
John, I want to say you guys came out of camp pretty healthy. It seemed like, at least. So when you look at the number of injuries now, is that just pure bad luck? I mean, you've been doing this long enough. Does that make you want to look at anything in like strength or training or anything when you have the numbers? Just
right.
How do you sort of?
We always look at that, and for sure, and it feels a little bit heavy this early part of the season where we're at. A lot of that has come from in the game type injuries, but we're always going to look at it. And again, we're not alone. I got to think every program's dealing with some setbacks and that, but we're always looking at year in and year out.
You haven't been here, but this rivalry's had some classic matchups from the 70s to the big upset in the late 90s when Ohio State was #1 to the D'Antonio years when they had some big victories. Just wondering if you have a feel for what this Ohio State game means here.
Well, I know it means a ton. I just think about the recruiting side. We want to be in that state recruiting, and so playing the flagship program of the state, that means something. These guys, again, haven't been in the league, but this logo, this brand of football. It's a big-time opponent.
Along with that, when Mark was here, he always kind of used this game as a measuring stick for where his program was, and I think a lot of it had to do with having been there and won a national title there. I guess, how do you do that? And when you have upper echelon teams in your conference, I mean, you had to face Oregon out there. Do you kind of use a program like that, and how do you use that as a measuring stick?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we sit here and pinpoint, okay, these 2 opponents are going to tell us where we're at as a program. We got a bunch of respect for them, but again, we're going to treat this Saturday and our approach to this Saturday very similar, understanding that you're going to have to play really well to win a game, and I think we approach that week in and week out.
Jonathan, you've had some short yardage defensive success, and none more maybe than the goal line stand where you force the fumble, then even when they get it back, you stand them up. But I'm wondering if in your experience, when that happens for a team, does it become part of the DNA and their confidence and down there, and does it, obviously you got to have the players to do it, but does it feed itself a little bit?
Yeah, they're not in yet, and so we know we're making them line up again. I did think it said something. The play before, the ball's on the ground, we've got an opportunity to get it, and we don't. And we got to line up again on 4th down, and then they show up and stop a good quarterback with good scheme. That was a huge momentum shift. So I think there's a belief that if they're not in yet, we can keep them out, and we've had multiple examples of that defensively. And again, I go back to this team of you get that stop, and then we literally go about 90 yards offensively, converting multiple times in a hostile place, and the conditions ain't great to take the lead. It said something about this team.
Jonathan, they have not really been challenged so far. 3 blowouts. You guys it's been the opposite. You've been in 3 real close games. Obviously, you want to be in the 4th quarter, but if that were to be the case, do you see any benefit, maybe that for you guys, having been battle tested and they haven't?
Yeah, I think it's, I can't really speak on their behalf. I think there's some beauty to not being tested. But for us, we've definitely been tested and that, and we're going to get tested week in and week out this whole season. And so I think we've got some resilience to us, and we want to find a way in the 4th quarter to come out on top.
On the penalties, was there anything different you told the team leading up to the Boston College game
Not a ton different. I do think those, again, we're learning, we're progressing. Our awareness was better around the sideline. I think we played with better technique at times, that kind of thing. Again, offensively, on the road, to have the one false start was better. We'd love to get it to 0, but there was nothing out of me. I go back, this place, we want to be player-led. Those guys have taken some ownership and did a better job on the penalty side.
Jonathan, I'm just curious. We saw like when you guys were in the gun, you were doing the guard check sort of deal to snap it. Like the guard was tapped in. Just purely curious. Like how does that work? And was that like a road environment thing, or was that a rain thing?
That was a road, just noise. And there's a few ways you can do it. It's kind of silent count, whether you got the guard looking back or the center's between his legs. And we try to use different ones on the road when it's loud. And we want to be able to change that up, right? I don't want to give you all the ins and outs of the thing for the next time we're on the road.
So he's looking at the guards, he's looking at the quarterback.
That was a technique we used. Yeah, guard was looking back, waiting for, when the quarterback's ready for it, and then communicates it to the center.
Just easier for him in the center to look back, is that?
A little bit, and your center makes calls, so for him to be able to keep his eyes down the field, there's some benefit because he's making calls.
I'm wondering on the injury situation with the receivers. You mentioned about being late in the week with those guys last week. Do you anticipate it being an earlier idea and decision? Do you feel like you came out of that BC game?
Right. I think it's going to be similar this week. We feel like they're going to practice a little bit more. We're hoping that more than they did last week, but it'll still probably get a final say on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, Ryan, just what's been the most frustrating part of the last 2 weeks?
Not winning the game, and I think it's been different reasons why we have faltered in those 2 weeks. As a competitor, you're playing to win, and so when you don't, it's frustrating. And I feel like, we as coaches, we have to do a better job of putting our guys in successful positions. And then, as players, when opportunities are there to make plays, we got to make them, and we got to play complementary football.
And then, just as far as the outside noise, how do you block that out, and kind of keep that tunnel vision?
Well, during the season, I don't really open Twitter or read articles unless it's for recruiting purposes. Try to encourage our guys to do the same. Obviously, I got a couple of friends that think it's funny to send me tweets to rib me a little bit. So yeah, you know what's being said, you know what's going on. I'm not naive to it. That's part of being in this profession, being in a competition arena. Like you have a fan base that is as passionate as ours is. You're going to hear frustration, and rightfully so. So it's not unexpected. We turn this thing around and win some games. You'll start hearing the other side of that noise, and that can be just as toxic as well. So to me, when you're in the throes of a season, you don't pay attention to the noise. You pay attention to the guys that are in the building.
Ryan, last year the defense averaged better than 1 turnover a game, and this year you have 0 through 3 games.
I'm well aware.
How do you provide more opportunities where you can get, we saw what it did for Oregon State the other night, get those momentum-changing plays for your defense?
Yeah. First we have to put team, I think, obviously it is easier to generate turnovers when teams are throwing the football. You get sack fumbles, you get tip balls, you get quarterback pressures, and then obviously you get the ball in the air. And once the ball's in the air, it's kind of up for grabs. And so we haven't forced people to throw it. The first game we were ahead, but they weren't. They were trying to get out of the game, so they just kept running it. And then obviously the last 2 weeks we've been behind, and so it is hard to generate turnovers when offenses are able to play conservative football. So I think it's twofold. Us being aware of where the ball is when we're going in to make tackles, and then as a football team, trying to get a lead, I think will generate more opportunities when offenses are forced to be more aggressive.
How reliant is your defense right now on your offense staying on the field for it? I mean, your defense is playing a lot of plays the last 2 weeks, it seems like.
Yeah, that's, like I said, we got to play complementary football. We got to look at, when we're using tempo offensively, how do we generate, easier third down conversions. There's a lot of things that we are evaluating right now.
Seemed like some things improved against Oregon State, some things didn't. What were some of the areas that you can build on in that game?
Yeah, one, I think, and I told this to the team, like they played the game the right way, and I think that's why I'm frustrated. We ran the ball really well, obviously. On defense, I thought we played well for the better part of 3.5 quarters. We had inopportune mistakes offensively early that defensively we were able to sort of put the fire out, so to speak, and play complementary football that way. We just didn't take advantage of opportunities when we had them as a team, but I do think we play. We challenged them to be tough and physical and to play with enthusiasm, and I thought they did that. For the entirety of the game, they were. I was infuriated after the game. Doing a lot of self-reflections, and then you get on the plane and you get the laptop and you start watching the tape, and it's like, okay, there are things that look familiar here. There are signs of what I've envisioned us to be. There are plays and strings of plays throughout the course of the game that looked familiar, like what we've seen in camp and in spring ball. So that part gave you hope and encouragement, because it does feel like we're close. But we're in a position right now as a program where we can't overcome these self-inflicted catastrophes. You know what I mean? And so, like when you stop a team on the fourth down conversion to start the game in their territory, you got to come away with points. You have to. And when you have a turnover, and we're starting to get things going on, or when you start to get things going on offense, and it's a 2-score game, like on defense, you got to get a stop. You have to. You know what I mean? And the last 2 weeks we haven't played crisp that way, and so. Just keep putting our head down and continue to work, and got to see improvement this week.
Now that you've kind of had these back-to-back tough games, is there things that you think haven't resonated yet that you're kind of telling your guys, or is there stuff that maybe you're gonna, all out change, or what's the mindset there? You build on the things that you had success with. I'm talking on the defensive side of the ball, and you correct areas where you got exposed, and you look at why you got exposed there, and was it a schematic issue or a technique issue, or are we asking somebody to do something that isn't realistic? I think we've addressed those areas of concern, and I'm excited to see what that looks like on Saturday. And we got to, on offense, we got to do things that our guys are comfortable with, and give our guys that need touches, give them touches, and we got to do things that allow our quarterback to play well. Huddy's a talented individual, and that talent's got to show up on game day.
I guess maybe just to follow up on that last point, I guess, what are you seeing as you evaluated the passing game from these last 2 weeks that is insufficient, that is maybe preventing Hudson being able to do what he can do?
I think we'll keep those issues in-house so that we're not tipping our hand to our opponent. But there are definitely things that we've talked about and have addressed, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like on Tuesday's practice.
Have you been talking to him specifically, maybe just in the role as the head coach? And what is your message to him? Obviously, starting off with a record-setting performance and then these 2 setbacks, do you feel like you need to maybe go to him as far from a confidence standpoint, from a support standpoint?
Yeah, I've had one-on-one conversations with him. Like that's our, like you said, I'm the head coach and that's our quarterback. So absolutely, we've had conversations.
Go back to something you said, and Kevin said it too, that concept of, evaluating the scheme, and maybe there were guys who you're asking too much of players. Can you explain that further, how you get 3 games into a season and into a second season and are having that issue?
Well, we've got new guys out there as well, right? And we have played 3 completely different types of opponents. And so, I think those 3 games are good evaluators for us, because what might look great against Indiana State didn't look great against Notre Dame. And was it not great because it was Notre Dame, or now we've had another opportunity against an Oregon State team, right? So, yeah.
Ryan, I know last year, and you being from Colorado, you talked about kind of growing up with that hatred of Nebraska, but right now it's really about your team and doesn't matter who you're playing.
Absolutely.
But that said, right now you've gone through a non-conference portion of your schedule. How maximized, I guess, now is it that it's Big Ten football from here on out?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, we were extremely positive and confident after the first week. The sky was falling after the second competition. And then you're disappointed, but hopeful after the third, and so now we've got some cataloged information. We've been able to identify areas we need to improve. We're going to start getting guys back healthy and throw it into the depth chart. And this team will continue to improve throughout the season. That's one of the things that we've been harping on is, we want to be peaking at the end of the year, and so I fully anticipate us to do so.
More questions for Coach Al? Go Alan first. Just what you've seen about Nebraska. Obviously, they've shown improvement. They lost a tough game this past weekend, but the quarterback is dynamic, and they seem to be much improved from last year.
Yeah, they are. I got a lot of respect for Coach Rule and what he's been able to accomplish in his career. Obviously Nebraska is a place with long storied tradition and a lot of passionate support. The quarterback, like you talked about, he's a starting quarterback at Nebraska as a true freshman for a reason. He's everything you want, big and confident. I think the confident piece sort of sticks out the most. He's not afraid to throw the ball in tight windows. He trusts his guys to go make plays. He can throw it from every different type of platform. And get it there pretty accurately. Up front they're big and physical. They got talented running backs. They got a few wideouts that can really go and make plays down the field and catch contested balls. They get creative with their personnel. The quarterback we faced last year, he'll be on the field at the same time as the starter, and they get creative that way. So we'll have to have answers there. So they are improved. I think the roster is improved, and I think they're doing a good job of putting their guys in positions to have success.
I just wanted to follow up on what you said about getting guys back on the roster. There wasn't necessarily any additions that jumped out from what we were given. Is there anything you can share about who you're expecting back?
I mean, we're I can say whatever, right? Yeah. I would expect Nyland Green to be back. Winston Berglund looked good running today. We'll see how he looks in practice. I think Salim is another guy that will be back. Who else was out there today? Yeah, so, I think those guys will practice this week.
Especially as it relates to Nyland, some of the things that you guys have been talking about defensively, how much does he help on that edge, and especially just, I guess, from just an attitudinal standpoint in some ways?
A ton. He helps out a ton.